Hello, this is Brian. Today is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and I'm here along a fire road just above Fry Creek Campground. I just finished recording a video, an ode video to coulter pine. There are some absolutely humongous coulter pines that grow here on Palomar Mountain. Absolutely monster coulter pines. So what I'm doing is I'm heading back to Fry Creek. I just finished up my video. Here I am. Right, this huge canyon live oak right here. Quercus chrysolipus. This is a massive, really huge canyon live oak. Very tall, very leafy, with a beautiful broad crown. Surprisingly, single trunked. A lot of the largest canyon live oaks I've seen are multi-trunked. So here I am, walking along, just enjoying the scenery before I get back. This will be a relatively short video, but I do love coming to the Fry Creek Campground area. It shows some of the most beautiful scenery here in San Diego County and in Southern California for that matter. Yeah, so it's a very brilliant, bright, early spring day here. Again, today it's March 26th, so just enjoying some scenery along the way back. There's a lot of poison oak growing on both sides of the road here. There's a lot of it. So watch where you go. Stay on the road. That's all poison oak right there. All western poison oak, Toxicodendron diversilobum. And for some people, might not know what it looks like when it's leafless. It's still leafless. It's probably won't leaf out till sometime next month in April, I'm assuming. These are still very dormant and still very leafless. Yeah. Look at this view. Look at the big cone Douglas firs over there. Absolutely gorgeous big cone Douglas firs in this area. Got a lot of scarlet bugler growing along here too. Penstemon centranthifolius. A lot of it growing around here. Coming here in late spring and summer, get some good wildflowers. Yep, some of the luscious areas of Southern California. Here, Palomar. One of my favorite places to visit. So we're just about to enter the campground. There's the entrance right there. There's the back entrance. This road leads up to private property, unfortunately. Further up. Yeah, I've shot a few videos here in the Fry Creek area. Always love coming here and just experiencing these beautiful trees that grow here. Look at that gorgeous big cone Douglas fir right there. Pseudotsuga macrocarpa. Yeah. Fry Creek has some of the largest big cone Douglas firs I've ever seen. A couple spots where you get some huge big cone Douglas firs. Fry Creek area in the Cleveland National Forest is where I am. I'm not in the state park portion. I'm in the National Forest portion of Palomar. Some of the largest big cone Douglas firs are in this area. There are some monster ones in the state park as well, especially going down the paved road from the entrance down to Doane Valley's day use and campground areas. There are some huge big cone Douglas firs there. If you want to see one of my ode videos, I've done a few ode videos to big cone Douglas fir. I do have a video showing some of those large ones in the state park area. And here we go, beautiful. Never can ever get enough of these trees. Never get enough big cone Douglas fir. To me, it's one of the most amazing trees we have. All right, so I'm gonna go shoot a few photos and then shoot a little more video. This is gonna be a short one. This isn't gonna be very long. If I ever camp here at Fry Creek, I want this spot. I want this spot here. This is why. Now this is a big, big cone Douglas fir right here. This is a big one. Look at that. I don't think it's the tallest. Definitely got height though. It's got height, but it's got girth. Yeah, it definitely has some height. Yeah, that's a massive big cone Douglas fir. What a beautiful tree this is. It's definitely got some serious girth on it. Now, not nearly as large as any variants of the Douglas fir, Pseudotsuga menziesii, the variety glauca being the Rocky Mountain, and variety menziesii being especially that one, the Pacific Douglas fir. These things are not small trees. What an absolute beautiful tree that is. Another pretty decent sized one over here too. I'll go head over towards it real quickly. Here's another decent sized one. Nice. Look at that. Look at the swirls of the branches. It's another pretty decent sized tree. The other one's a little girthier, but this ain't no little tree either. It's another decent sized one down by the picnic table. It's another pretty decent sized one right there. These are such amazing trees. They're so fun to be around. Wow. I'm going to go ahead and head up to this little knoll. See if there's a little viewpoint or something up here. So if you want to see the largest trees, go to the canyons here on Palomar. That's where you see the largest of the large. I'm going to go thread the needle through this canyon live oak woodland. Go visit this little knoll right here. Wow. See what's at the top of this little thing here. It's kind of like almost reaching a summit. I had plans earlier in the state park to go to Booker Hill again and try a random unnamed peak nearby. Which didn't really work out too well because the little iron range where you make your payment to get in didn't have any envelopes in it. Alright. So at the top of this little knoll, I kind of hiked in from Fry Creek Campground's bottom. Alright. It's kind of like a little miniature summit almost. Very rocky, I like it. It's pretty cool. We're in the shade of some canyon live oaks and of course big cone Douglas firs. I love the sound of those birds. Western mountain chickadees. Poecile gambili abbreviatus. That's what those are. Love the sound of those birds. I really do. Cool little knoll. It's just a small little knoll. It's not like a real big peak or anything, but you won't get any views up here. Well, at least far-reaching views. But to me, this secluded little wooded spot is very much a nice view for me anyways. Much higher terrain up that way. And higher terrain up this way too once you leave the campground and start heading up that ridge over there. It's hard to see, but there is a ridge up there. But yeah, it's just kind of like a cool little mini summit. I wanted to reach the top of something, so I guess I'll look at this as that. I'll get a couple shots over here, a couple pictures. I am such a sucker for a good canyon live oak forest. Or in this case, a canyon live oak big cone Douglas fir forest, which is a pretty common type of lower to mid elevation montane forest here in Southern California. Especially in these canyons and on steep slopes. Canyon live oak and big cone Douglas fir are two peas in a pod. Yeah, these are some beautiful oaks. And of course, gorgeous canyon live oak is a dime a dozen here. Of course, you can tell. But I love canyon live oaks. Of course, so again, we also do have some big cone Douglas fir mixing in. Where there's big cone Douglas fir, you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar canyon live oak's going to be in tow. Because canyon live oak lives throughout the entire range of big cone Douglas fir, even though it doesn't go the other way around. Canyon live oak is a very widely distributed tree. From Baja, California, all the way up into Oregon, and also a spot of it in Arizona as well. It does grow in Arizona in a spot or two. Canyon live oak. I don't know if it grows into Nevada though, on the Sierras, but so when you go up into Yosemite at the lower elevations, it's probably going to be Pacific Douglas fir mixing in with canyon live oak up that way. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty common occurrence. Look at that beautiful big cone Douglas fir. Look at that. Yeah, cool stuff here. It's about to come down from this knoll. Cool little knoll at the back of the campground. If you want a little quick mini itty bitty summit. Especially if you're coming up from the bottom of Fry Creek Campground. Because you go up the paved road, it's pretty steep in spots. Pretty steep in areas coming up. So you get a little workout. Alright. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to have to switch out some batteries. I'll get some pictures and continue on my way down this trail. I saw in that last picture, I was just admiring the huge granite outcrops on that mountainside up there. Some huge boulders up there. And just above them is just the magic trio of coulter pine, big cone Douglas fir, and canyon live oak. Just sprawled out above those boulders. Beautiful detail. Beautiful details. Yeah, this is definitely a place to savor and appreciate and relax and hang out. Yeah, this would definitely be a place I would love to camp. Here's another view of that big cone Douglas fir, the one with the real big trunk that I got earlier on before climbing up the knoll. Ah, it's definitely got some height to it, but the girth. The girth, because these trees could live for several hundred years. I think big cone Douglas firs are capable of at least living to 700, if not more. Here's a really tall one. This one's got the advantage of height. Sorry about the sun glare. I'll try to get behind that incense cedar there, but look at that. Look at the height on that big cone Douglas fir. That's a tall tree. That's a really tall tree. It looks like it's got some girth too. Look at this beautiful white fir here. What a handsome young white fir. There's another tree growing in this area too. There are a few decent sized incense cedars here too, believe it or not. There are a few decent sized ones. Haven't seen any absolute gargantuan ones. But yeah, there's that big cone Douglas fir with the moss on it. Yeah, that's a stunningly beautiful tree right there. And look at that very shapely canyon live oak right there. That's why I come to these spots time and time again. Because I could find something to appreciate and something to showcase. This would probably be one of the premier camping areas here in Cleveland National Forest, because you're actually in the forest. You're actually in the forest, very much in the forest. This is some of the densest forest. Palomar has some of the densest forests in Southern California. And it is just so lush, especially on these north-facing slopes. Well, this is not really a north-facing slope either, but north-facing slopes and steep canyons is where you're going to find some really luxuriant stuff. And if you're below 5,500 feet, also poison oak, so be aware of where you walk. Make sure you know what it looks like in all seasons. Leafless in winter and early spring, red and orange and yellow in autumn, and green in the late spring and summer. There we go, Pseudotsuga macrocarpa. Never get tired of looking at those. Never will I ever get tired of looking at these. The time I get tired, which is pretty much never going to happen, the time I would ever get tired of anything like this means that I've ceased to exist inside. I've ceased to exist inside if I ever get tired of looking at these beautiful coniferous behemoths. And these gorgeous canyon live oaks. Just love the forest scenery. There's a huge big cone Douglas fir down there. It's got the advantage of both girth and height. That tree right there in the middle of the frame. Pretty big one right down there too. And unless the tree has cones in it, the younger big cone Douglas firs are nearly indistinguishable from Pacific Douglas firs. I think Pacific Douglas firs are supposed to have longer buds at the end of the twig, I believe, but I don't know how helpful that would be. But yeah, there's the top of it. Sorry about the sun glare. There's the top of it. Yeah. Here are the younger ones here. Some of the younger ones look very much like regular Douglas firs. Yeah, these are some very beautiful young trees. There's a humongous canyon live oak down there. Look at that. That's a massive canyon live oak. Wow. Just a massive canyon live oak. Look at that. That's just amazing. Never get tired of this stuff. Sometimes I just get more invigorated as time goes on. I mean, this is just gorgeous stuff here. I need to get a few still photos. So I'll see you on the next clip. There's a fairly decent sized incense cedar right here. Calopsatras decurrens. Yes, indeed. Look at this. Look at this canyon live oak forest right here. How thick it is. And a lot of incense cedar penetrating the canopy. Just love the lushness. What a rich understory of canyon live oak and incense cedar saplings. Coffee berry, occasional. Here I got some taller incense cedars here. These are definitely not extremely old, but right in the middle of it is a huge big cone Douglas fir. An absolute behemoth big cone Douglas fir. It's probably at least 140 feet tall. Yeah, that's pretty big for a big cone Douglas fir. It's pretty tall. And then we go. They got the leaflet silhouettes of the California black oaks. They haven't leafed out yet. It's only March, the end of March, so give it some time. Pretty soon, probably earlier than usual this year because of the warm beginning of spring and the warm end of February and the warm end of March. Well, it's supposed to cool down to below average after yesterday. Below average again, but for the rest of the month, I believe. Now, look at that big cone Douglas fir. Look how high that reaches above where I'm standing. Where I'm standing right here. About 2 feet. Look how tall that is from here. Just from this elevation up to the top of that is well over 100 feet. But, here's a caveat. It is growing probably about 25, 30 feet down in the canyon. So it's probably about 20 to 30 feet down that canyon ravine. And then here's an old classic double header big cone Douglas fir. I think I pointed this out on my last Fry Creek visit. Yeah, this one's got some height. It's got some pretty decent height. Boy, wait till you see the girth on this tree. Oh gosh, look at that. That's an amazing tree. That's one tree. That's one tree. I'm pretty sure it's one tree. If not, the trunks are fused together, but wait till you see the girth of this one. Wait till you see the girth on this one. Probably pointed out the last time I was here, but I don't know if anybody ever remembers my videos. I don't have a huge viewer following, or I don't get a lot of views on my videos, so some people might not remember or even seen it. So here I am again. For those seeing this video, look at the trunk on this big cone Douglas fir. The double header is what I call it. My friend Brett, you've probably seen him in several of my videos in the past. He also knows this tree very well because he's a big fan of native flora, trees especially. And he's a big fan of big cone Douglas fir just like I am. Yep, the double header. Look at the trunk on this. Now there is a slight chance this could be two trees merged into one. It's a possibility. More likely, it probably bifurcated at a young age. Maybe from some damage or something. That does happen. But look at that. What a beauty. Yeah. This is a monster big cone Douglas fir. Probably hear that phrase a lot in my videos at Palomar Mountain. Monster big cone Douglas fir. I probably wear that expression out so much because I say it so much. But that's why, right there. All right, time for a couple stills of this beauty. Here we go. Here's a pretty tall young white fir here too. That's a pretty tall white fir. That's a young one too. Who knows? That might be on its way to be another gargantuan specimen. But it is shadowed by that humongous double-headed big-cone Douglas fir. Another double-header. And there's a white fir leaning into it. A crooked white fir tree leaning into it, which is kind of interesting. But this is a massive big-cone Douglas fir. Let's see. See if I can get up to it without poison oak being a factor. Now this one has a pretty big trunk on it too. But yeah, this has got a pretty big trunk on it too. Not as big as that previous one, but this one has more height to it. This is a skyscraper right here. And we got some big incense cedars in there too. We do have some pretty big ones. Something about these big-cone Douglas firs really set the bar so high. Or should I say, set the branch so high. Look at this. Yeah, this was a double header too, but it splits much further up. So I'm still pretty sure that the other one was a single tree that split lower down. But this one here, while it does have a pretty massive trunk, also has some pretty decent height to it. Now we do have some pretty big incense cedars over here too. So I love this is why I film a lot when I'm in the conifer forest. That's why my videos tend to be very long when I'm hiking in conifer forest, because I'm just so in awe of these trees and I feel like sharing it with everybody. Yeah, these are pretty tall. Probably about 130. At least this one here in the middle. And these canyon live oaks too are no shirkers in the height department. Let's be honest about that too. Some of the canyon live oaks have height too, and they're not normally extremely tall. They do have the capability to get up to 100 feet tall. It's not very common, but it is a very distinct possibility. The thing with them is a lot of their size comes from the girth of their trunks and the huge branches that spread out from them. Gosh, this is so beautiful here. That's why I had to come back here and get another video of Fry Creek Campground. I had a video I just did from the neighboring observatory campground, which has some humongous coulter pines, a nice old apple tree in there, a couple planted maple trees, and some pretty neat stuff too. But if you want to come where the big cone Douglas firs are, there are a couple of smaller big cone Douglas firs in the campground. But if you want to see the bigger ones, hop across S6. Right across the way is the Fry Creek Campground. This is where the trees get really huge. This is an incredible wonderland. All right, let me go back to the road and see if I can find a couple other stops along the way so I can ogle some more interesting trees. Here, we've got a little tiny spring action. I'm gonna watch where I'm stepping because there's poison oak around here. But yeah, there's a little pipe right there. There's a little spring that feeds into Fry Creek. Wow. What a verdant place this is. This area probably receives between 30 and 35 inches of rain a year, which for people living back east, is quite modest compared to places like North Carolina, New Jersey, New York, which usually receive between 45 and 55 inches of rain. But for Southern California, it's quite a bit. And it's very concentrated is very concentrated between November and early April. So if the same amount of rain occurred throughout the year, the same rates of rain occurred throughout the year, we'd probably be close to, this area would be probably close to 65 inches of rain. And I just imagine how big the trees would be then. Oh boy. Oh, I can just imagine how big they would be then. Canyon live oaks would probably be 150 feet tall. The big cone Douglas firs would probably be 200 feet tall. The incense cedars would be 250 feet tall. But I'm happy with what we have. I very much appreciate what we have. I very, very much appreciate the very lovely vibes this area gives off. And these trees just really get me. Yep. It's one of the few pines in this general campground vicinity. It's a big coulter pine right there. Really big coulter pine. All right. Just enjoy the peaceful vibes. This brilliant early spring day here in Cleveland National Forest. Yep. Now, by far the majority of Cleveland National Forest is actually chaparral. It's more chaparral than forest. But you do get some pockets of true to word forest. Palomar Mountain's one of them. The Palomar does have its share of chaparral too. Parts of Palomar are drier, and on the south-facing cliffs overlooking Palma Valley, you're going to get a lot more chaparral there. But even that's punctuated by oak woodland and even some big cone groves too. So let's try to see where this leads. Looks like it just dead ends over here. I was kind of curious. Dead ends in this rose thicket. It's all California rose right here. It's starting to leaf out already. Rosa californica already starting to leaf out. Here's a nice hoary coffee berry. Frangula californica tomentella. Pretty nice one. Here's a nice incense cedar. Just caught a whiff of it too. Yeah, this area is very fragrant. Not surprising, especially with incense cedars. The occasional pine and the big cone Douglas firs have that resin. It gives off such a wonderful aroma. Yes, indeed. And the white firs, of course. Now, here's something that grows quite a bit in this area, but you won't see any leaves on it yet. These twigs right here, this is all creek dogwood, Cornus sericea subspecies occidentalis, formerly known as Cornus stolonifera, sometimes still referred to as such in older texts. Yeah, red osier, the red twigs. Red osier dogwood's another name for creek dogwood. Yeah, because they have these red twigs. Very strikingly beautiful red twigs. Yeah, they haven't started leafing out yet. They'll probably won't be that much longer. But I still have not got a spotlight video on this. I need to get a spotlight video on creek dogwood. So that'll probably be a multi-season thing because I need to show it off in spring. The flowers are in the summer, the fruits in the fall, and the fall color too. But yeah, creek dogwood, reddish haze right there. Is all those twigs. There's a lot of it over here too. A lot of creek dogwood, that reddish haze. Those are all the leafless bare twigs of Cornus sericea subspecies occidentalis. I'm hoping I can finally get a spotlight video on that this year. I started a Pacific dogwood video last June, but I never finished off with it. Yeah, right at the end of its bloom period. Never got the rest of the footage of that. And we also got something else growing here that I still have never seen in bloom. I've seen this shrub many, many times, especially here at Palomar and also near Idlewild in the San Jacinto Mountains. It's this shrub here. And this is Western Azalea, Rhododendron occidentale. And right now, of course, it's way too early in the spring for it to even be leafed out. So the shrubs are still pretty dormant right now. They're all leafless still. So again, it's only the end of March, so we'll see pretty soon. Probably sometime in April they'll start leafing out. Okay, I believe this is probably Humboldt lily. This is probably ocellated Humboldt lily. I'm assuming is what this is. This would be Lilium Humboldtii subspecies ocellatum, I believe is what this is. That's another plant that I've seen on a few occasions when it's just sending up its shoots in the spring from the roots. Never caught it in bloom. I still have not caught that one in bloom. So I might have to come back here in June. Hopefully the azaleas will be blooming by then. I hope. There's so many plants here. There are so many plants here that I have not done a spotlight video yet. I've seen them, but I've never seen them the right time of year, like during the flower period. I've never seen Western Azalea flowers up close. I've seen pictures of them, obviously, and I've seen the shrub many, many times, but I've never seen it in bloom in person. Otherwise, the spotlight video would be busted out already. I've seen it during fall, Western Azalea, when the leaves are turning bronze and yellow in autumn. I've seen the fall color on it, but I've never seen the flowers. I'm surprised, especially how much I go hiking. All right, I'm gonna go explore this little spot here. I'll see you on the next clip. Look at this canyon live oak right here. What a beautiful tree. There's another flat spot over here. Well, coming up on a pretty decent sized incense cedar. Let's see. It's got some height and some girth to it. Let's get up next to this incense cedar. Let's get a close look at this one. Yeah, this one's got both height and girth. Calosadris decurrens. Now there's one stump in the observatory campground of incense cedar that is absolutely gargantuan. It's a stump, and you can see parts of the log that had fallen over the years. I can imagine, oh gosh, I could imagine how big that tree was. It's in the observatory campground near one of the picnic areas, I think, or one of the campsites towards the back of it. And it was a massive tree. But yeah, this one's got some height to it. This is probably at least 130, 140 feet tall, I would assume. Wow. That's a handsome tree. And yeah, it's got some girth at the base. The stellar jays are absolutely going bonkers. Listen to that. Oh, yeah. Yep, the sounds, the smells, and the sights, and the experiences, all the tactile senses, make the forest a great place to be. Wow, look at that. Look at that gully. Leading up towards that one knoll I visited earlier. Up that way a bit. Insane. I love it. Oh boy, those stellar jays are on a good one today. This is a pretty large, either a large site or a day-use picnic area. I know they have I think there's a day-use parking lot here too. Yeah, you can tell this used to be a massive incense cedar. Pretty sure that was an incense cedar. This used to be a massive one back in the day. So beautiful here. Let's go to the end of this here and see. Just enjoy the sights and the sounds, the fragrances of the forest. Look at this canyon live oak wood here. Wow. Leads up to that ridge. A nice jumble of boulders over there. If you're so adventurous, it'll be some place to scramble, as long as there's no poison oak growing out of it. And there's the road just on the other side. Yeah, these big Douglas firs are massive trees. Look at all this arroyo willow. There's a lot of arroyo willow growing here too. That's what all this is here. And they're just starting to send out their first flowers of the season. Another beautiful black oak. And they're the young saplings thereof. Another coulter pine right there in the middle. And it's just those tall bighorn Douglas firs. Beautiful white firs here too. Yeah. Man, I just can't get over how tall some of these canyon live oaks are too. Nice tall trees. It's like an interesting ridge line here. Let's see if I can climb up to that ridge line and see what the view looks like over there. All right, just about at the ridge line. Okay. All right. So that little high point I visited in the campground, that little knoll, it's gonna be up this way. Kind of steep coming up here. Let's explore this for a few minutes. You can tell it's a lot drier here. It's a more exposed slope. Trees aren't quite as big over here. Still very beautiful. Look at that. Look at the slope of Palomar. Yeah. This little wooded area here along this ridge, it's pretty spectacular. Oh, here we go. More of the south-facing slope here. It's actually looking more towards the observatory campground, roughly over that way. That's where the observatory campground is, in that direction. It's really close here. It's just basically a hop, skip, and a jump right across the highway S6, aka Canfield Road. Actually parked close to the entrance of, just past the entrance of the road entrance of the observatory campground. Let's see what's down here. Oh, speaking of Canfield Road S6, there it is, right down there. That's San Diego County S6, and the observatory campground, yep, is right in there. Wow! These Stellar Jays are really on a good one today. I love it. Spring, so they're probably really energized. Wow. I'd love to get up there one day, but I think it's private property up there. I tried one time to get up towards that area, and it was cordoned off cordoned off when I was going along a road. It was cordoned off my private property, so I had to dip out of that. Otherwise, that'd really be a cool spot to visit. There goes traffic on S6. All right, cool little ridge line. I'm gonna go follow it over to the rocks. All right, let's go check out these rocks. Look like they're a pretty interesting jumble on the other side. Over here it's pretty flat, so if you don't want to scramble them and still want to walk on top of them, here you go. But you could probably find a more challenging way to scramble up if you want. This way would be class 2. This way would be probably class 3. Yeah, this would be class 3 to get up here on this side. But yeah, this side would be class 2. Where I came, it's just class 1, just walking. Wow, what a beautiful place this is. What a cool little ridge line too. Ridge line is another place. Besides being in canyons, mountain peaks, I love ridge lines and also love slopes too. Even though they can be a real pain to walk up or down them. There's another coulter pine right here. Starting to plate out, starting to get plated bark too. Pretty nice looking tree. Over here. Wow. What a cool spot this is. The scenery here is just absolutely delectable. All right. Start heading back to the service area or service road and start heading out. Beautiful place this is. So, if you're willing and able, just watching out for poison oak, of course. You can just amble up to this ridge for some views. Just want to go head down this pretty steep slope, back down to that basin, and then curl around back to the road and start heading out. It's time to go down this really steep slope. Just take your time going up, especially going down this. This is very steep. All right, see you on the next clip. All right, so I'm just about back at the road. So this is where I went to get up to the ridge. Just went across down there and just found a really open space just to walk up to the ridge line. So let's get a little extra exploratory video out of this. A little bit more than I did. Well, when I did the other Fry Creek video, I went up the campground and then I looped around on the Fry Creek trail on the other side there. Looped back to the campground on the trail. There we go. Male arroyo willow. Salix lacceolipus. These are male blooms. All right. So, yeah, it's beautiful canyon live oaks. I can see the exit of the Fry Creek Campground coming up. So this video will be pretty much done momentarily. Beautiful scenery here. I didn't film this video on the way in because I was in the middle of trying to wrap up another video, and I didn't feel like mixing up the clips and then having to sort them out when it's time to do the videos. I've done a few videos today. I've done an ode video to Coulter Pine, another Fry Creek video, observatory campground video, and a video over at the state park or at the Silver Crest picnic area. So I'm leaving the campground now. So what I'm going to do is I got to walk along the road a little bit towards right before the observatory campground entrance road is. All right. I'll keep walking over there and I'll keep you posted for maybe one last update. Back on S6, there's a campground, still closed until April 1st, I think. All right, see you on the next clip. All right, so just say you're parked on the outside of the campgrounds and you want to hike both without having to walk all the way to the entrance. You can enter Fry Creek from here, park over there, and even enter the observatory campground on this really short trail right here. This will lead you right into the observatory campground. So I just got to walk a little bit along S6, just enjoying the views of these trees. My car should be around the curve somewhere. Just if you park here, I think you got to put on a National Forest Adventure Pass. We do have a few pullouts here too, so there's some room to park on the side of the road. Look at that. I'm probably coming pretty... Whoa! What kind of... Is that a band-tailed pigeon? I don't know. That might have been a band-tailed pigeon. Had a pretty long neck. Oh, so as I was saying, I'm almost at the... I think at the ridge line at the bottom of it this time. I was up there looking down here from either up there or just a little further up. Looking down this very steep slope right here. I'm going to cross over to this side. My car's parked on this side here. There's a pullout right here you could use. I'm parked a lot closer to the campground entrance. But I'll see you when I'm there. Alright, so still working my way along. This really stuck out to me. Look at that big cone Douglas fir. That's a massive tree right there. That is a humongous, very tall, big cone Douglas fir. That is a big tree. Wow. That is a huge tree. Try not to miss it there. I can see the sign for the observatory campground. And there's where I'm parked. Wow, it's been a pretty amazing day so far. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful trees out here. I love this spot. So I kind of looped around. I went in the campground over there. Behind me is where the the paved road. The paved road leads in. So I kind of did a loop through there and through there to Fry Creek, up that little trail I told you, across the street, into Fry Creek. So I kind of did a loop hike, but I have them in two separate videos. So All right, well, this is going to do it for my Fry Creek video. Hope you enjoyed watching that and seeing that familiar spot, but seeing a few different angles of it that I've never seen before. Hope you enjoyed coming along for the adventure on there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next hike.